think people are still coming in though, so we could maybe give it another minute if we want.
Looks like we're holding.
Holding steady at 20 people.
Misty or Jill, you want to kick anything off or did I mean,
Jill, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I think we were just start off by saying if you can go into the notes and add your name. As an attendee.
Jeff wasn't able to make it today, but I'm here and can, if we still want to, as part of the agenda to go through Meridian, I can do that. But other questions we can put in a doc or something I can give them to.
Yeah, I think the to-dos from the last meeting were mostly about scheduling. Um, and you're working on that for trials and stuff. And then we looked at the ideas board, and then there was one other to do from the last meeting about God, I have too many tabs open on a small screen. Where'd it go? Uh, oh, it was something, and I think last meeting you were telling us about a bulk load trial from ontologies that it looks like Emily Fiddleman was working on, and you were going to share the documentation.
Yeah, I think I shared it in the chat and
Put it in
I
the
was thinking, Misty, did you put that in an email? Otherwise, I can just send a link. I put it in the Google Drive. Uh,
yeah, did we? Oh, in the Google Drive. Okay.
yeah, I don't know if everybody has access to it, but
I did not send an email because I thought we had one more task we wanted to do before we sent something, and that never happened. So apologies.
oh
I
no,
think the other ask was about scheduling which for trial for the not trials, demos.
Okay.
Which then we're still working on, which Anna's still working on scheduling, which will be great. Um, you said you put it in the wiki?
I didn't put it on the wiki. I put it in our like
Or like shared?
groups shared drive, but
Okay.
I don't know like where that ends. I was also looking at where I could maybe put it in the land of OCLC, but that has been not a quick process.
Yeah.
As can be the case. So if you aren't, if somebody wants to click, this is Emily's file. There's like a million things that start with Google Drive. If somebody that is not Jill, Misty, or I, click on that and see if you can get to it, that would be cool.
I can,
Fab.
Robin. Yep.
Thank you, Robin. Okay, great.
Oh, very cool. And then we just put you just put it in the meeting notes so that we'll have it in future
Yep.
for everybody's reference. That's great. Cool. Okay, now I've got some reading to do.
Awesome.
Um, I think those were the looks like the main things we had to go over from last time.
Yeah, on the agenda, I just put any updates, comments, questions. If anyone had like I don't know, an epiphany or thing that you really, really wanted to mention. But other than that, I had just planned and sort of, I have Meridian up and we could just kind of go through a slow, detailed review of it. I mean, it sounded like the idea is towards looking at what properties are available, what recommendations we might want to make out of this group. You know what I didn't do? I didn't look over the Wikidata documentation that someone had shared last time. 'Cause they have maybe an application profile or something. Um, oh, perfect. Mara. Or I'm going to say Mara because I'm from Wisconsin and I don't know that Mara is it, but it also could be. That's
It's
my
definitely Mara, so well
okay.
done.
Okay, Susan. Okay, great. Yeah, I'm glad that there are some folks who are kind of looking across some of the different communities of practice because it
Mhm.
will want to, you know, not be doing wildly different things.
Well, I imagine one of the big questions for everybody in the technological world is how all these different entity systems are going to interact with each other. But
Yeah.
but as librarians kind of tend to know, it's you have to standardize the systems,
Mhm.
both systems can interact well. So kind of working off each other, I suppose, is great that people are doing both.
And I got interested in this. It's been a while now, but there were several papers that came out sort of through the PCC side about starting to look at identity management in a different way. And I'm a person who, even though I came from cataloging metadata, I also worked on a lot of institutional repository, digital archives projects, and web projects. So I was looking at identity management that way too. And I developed a class with Library Juice Academy on identity management, and it was very much identity management for people. But then it's like, but why are we stopping at people? Like we've got all this other stuff too. So when I saw these groups being formed, I'm like, I want to look on everything. So I'm trying to kind of stick my toes in everywhere because the people in that class are from every single industry imaginable, from, big tech companies to cataloging librarians. So it's a really cool group of people, and I'm trying to get as broad as I can, but at the same time, making sure I'm encouraging standardization and also talking about how that builds interoperability across all these different systems, because I think that's one of the key pieces that people are interested in with that particular class. So, yeah, it's been, and I kind of drop off the notifications sometimes. So I just got a notification for this, and I was like, oh wait, I was on that, or I was trying to lurk on that. So, hey, I'm here.
That's that's great, Robin. And if you have any bibliography stuff that you want to
Yeah.
share, we can throw it in the notes for people in this.
Sure, sure. I've been trying to compile as much stuff as I can, just like I said, not only from the sort of traditional PCC side, but that larger world of just identity management. And we talk about schema.org some, and just like all of these things that are out there, and what Wikidata, we look at Wikidata, we look at DPpedia, and we also look, of course, at all the tradition, what I call the traditional authorities, the LC name authorities, VIAF, and all of that stuff too. So, yeah, I'll be glad to put some things in to
That'd
share
be
some
great.
things with you all too.
I'm also really excited to hear that there are people from the tech companies attending these things, because one of
Yeah.
my challenges in systems and cataloging is always that like you're speaking different languages. And the tech companies are like, but the machine learning says this is the pattern. And you're like, well, that's
Yeah.
great, but it's not the pattern I'm looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's been interesting because I'm always interested to see like who those classes have been a lot smaller than my other classes, like Library Congress classification. We have to cap it at 40 because it just,
Interesting.
is so many people sign up for that. But this class has been a lot smaller. It's usually been somewhere between 10 and 20 people, but it is just really people from across everywhere. So it's been great. It is, I would say, more heavily weighted towards um, museums and archives. So I would say like the institutional repository, digital asset management folks, that community. And I don't know if it's how we've kind of advertised it, or maybe the way I've described that particular class has been targeted more for them. But it's a good mix of people. But just about every time I have, and federal agencies as well, but just about every time there's somebody from a larger tech company or a small startup tech company. I've had a lot of people from small startup tech companies ask about this sort of thing. In fact, I've been talking to someone who's building an AI tool, and they're running into the problem of not having a controlled vocabulary, and how that's impacting how they are trying to use AI to organize and classify things, because there's no standardized vocabulary for it to pick from. So I was talking to them just a couple of weeks ago about this. So I think we got a lot of
So
if
on a
exactly that, if we can connect with those kind of people, they realize then like, oh yeah, there is this area of expertise over here that we should be talking to. So um, I'm hopeful, I'm always hopeful to see the people in my classes, and hoping that they're starting to get the word out that we need to talk more about standardizing this type of data. And, you know, it's just, to me, that's the important piece of it. So yeah, I find this all very exciting, and I'm going to try to lurk on as much as I can, and share what I'm doing, although I'm not always a practitioner. Sometimes I'm an instructor, sometimes I'm doing the work, and it just depends on what project I'm on. So anyway,
on a side note, not relative to this group, but I think I'll follow up with an email to you, Robin, because I just
yeah.
started PhD work, and my dissertation is basically cataloging and metadata versus AI for libraries, and a lot
Oh
of that
yeah.
is wrapping up as shaping up to be a conversation about exactly what you're talking about with these people, that it's like
Yeah. And that's the
moving
other
now.
class I'm actually teaching it right now, is the AI and data class for Library Juice Academy. And it's been a very evolving class, but it really tries to cover kind of all areas related to AI and data, which is such a huge topic, but we cover a little bit of everything in there, and then end up with people. We do sort of a guided exercise where everybody is contributing the same, working with the same data set in AI, so that we're able to then talk about how AI is adapting and changing in real time. And I
Okay.
kind of set it up for failure for the first exercise, knowing that they're not going to give it enough information. And then we talk about the limitations of AI. So it's been a lot of fun, but it's very much an evolving kind of class for sure. But yeah, it's been interesting to me kind of reaching being able to connect with some of these, especially smaller projects that are really understanding that AI needs some frameworks and
Yeah.
it needs some like a controlled vocabulary or standardization of data because that just makes it easier to get more accurate results out of it. So
So
um,
a lot of the
real
literature I'm
fascinating.
looking at is about labeling
Yeah.
and how we do it versus how they do it and
Yeah.
vectorization. But
Yep.
one part that actually fits into the EMCO work is there is a Wikimedia Deutschland is trying to work on a kind of lower energy cost AI that's mainly based on vectorized Wikidata.
Hmm.
Because the idea is that it's already got um, connections, because it's already linked data, right?
Right.
Wikidata, and therefore if you train your AI on it, it's going to be less energy intensive.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a project coming out of Germany. And they're partnered
Yeah.
with a company here called Data Stacks, which just got bought by Microsoft like 6 months ago. So I don't know where that's going. But
Well,
anyway, linked
I'll t
data could
yeah,
save
thank you.
AI.
It will. I honestly, I think it will. Well, thank you. I've heard of data stacks, and I've kind of been following, yeah, that they've been vacuumed up. But I'll take a look for that project. That sounds
Yeah,
really
it's the
interesting.
out of Wikimedia Deutschland, so
Awesome.
the
Thank you.
German branch of Wikidata. But yeah, back to the statistics are probably interesting for other groups in PCC too,
Hmm.
that you're getting tons of people still registering for the Library of Congress stuff and
Oh
fewer
yeah,
people registering for the linked data kind
yeah,
of stuff is probably interesting to maybe I know I was seeing calls recently for PCC, the group that, oh no, maybe it was the OCLC core group that they were,
yeah.
there's stuff about education and
Yeah, it's been interesting because I think also with Library Juice being a company that has a wide variety of training, and I only do a certain topic, so I do more of like the linked data, emerging technologies, AI, and then I started out doing very traditional cataloging instructions like Dewey Decimal, Library of Congress classification, LC subject headings, those kind of things because they needed a substitute instructor, and I kind of fell into those classes and then redid
okay.
them. So I've got kind of, and serials cataloging. So I've got kind of that bucket. And then everything else is like the more emerging side of the house, which is really my interest. But yeah, it's been interesting to me to see like how in BibFrame, it's been really interesting to me to see like how many people still need really basics. And I've been advocating for a while to do a more mark intensive workshop, but I think there's some concern that maybe there just wouldn't be enough interest, but I kind of think there would be. It's something that library schools aren't teaching a lot of. There's, I think, either an understanding that you'll learn it on your own or that there's other ways to learn it. And they're just not teaching sort of those foundational pieces of, especially when you're looking at uh, maybe moving to BibFrame or you're looking to link data. It's like the more you know about Mark, the more you can see how you can make those things work in your current
Mhm.
environment. So, um,
Exactly so.
yeah, I just think it's a real missed opportunity for us that as a whole, the profession, at least at the larger library instruction profession has kind of gotten away from teaching what I consider to be a core fundamental system skill that you need to be able to do any of this kind of stuff. So anyway,
I know
that's my
I've
soapbox.
yeah, no, I know I've talked a little bit about this with Josh, who teaches some class, Josh Hutchinson here, who teaches some classes at USC for their
Yeah,
library school. And I know that Paul already, from UCLA, they also have a library
yeah,
school.
yeah,
And at San Jose State, where I work, has a library school, and
yeah,
ours has definitely moved away from cataloging and mark,
yeah,
but they
yeah,
still have not quite picked up the BibFrame linked data aspect.
yeah,
So there seems in library school to be at this point like a recognition of the transition
right.
from mark to
Yeah,
greater metadata space without yet having those linked data, greater metadata space
yeah.
classes
And
onboarded.
yeah, and I'd
Um,
also like to see you know, and I've done some LSI instruction as well, but what I would really like to see is more for those of us who have been in the profession for a while, like myself, you know, to figure out a way to kind of upskill people or to offer some kind of certificate that would upskill people a little bit more. I mean, I've kind of kept up with things on my own because that is my interest. And when I was in an academic institution, I was doing semantic web research. So, you know, that was kind of my interest anyway. But that's not true of all my colleagues that were 15 years into this either. So, you know, I think there's a lot of good opportunities for us. Yeah, and I don't think we necessarily need to, you know, go through. I taught at one point when I was teaching for lyricists, I taught a mark workshop that was like to the indicator, and we like 245 first indicator, and we would spend probably 15 minutes talking about it. Yeah, I would never force anybody to go through that again.
We
But,
do
you
we
know,
do
how
end up
to
still,
understand it.
yeah, we do end up still needing to have those conversations though.
Sure,
We
sure.
under
But I think once you understand more about kind of how it fits together and like the relationships between the data, that makes a lot more sense to people too, and
Yeah.
how it displays to the public. So rather than just like we're going to talk about it from just like, you know, a traditional record and kind of go top to bottom to kind of talk about it through everything. Okay, anyway,
Just
sorry.
yeah. No, it's okay. Quickly, uh, Josh had a comment that he might want to elaborate on, and then I think Paul had a comment, and then and are we going to do a walkthrough of Meridian?
Yeah.
Can you do that after this?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So,
Have that queued up.
Josh, did you want to elaborate on what you were saying?
No.
No. Okay. Just what's in the chat. And Paul, did you have a comment?
Equally no, except that I've done authority NACO training for a number of our staff, including library assistants, and that's really helped in terms of access points and ultimately discoverability. And the idea that, and Robin, think you said it so beautifully, is the idea that you can make with Mark, you can make Mark jump through hoops if you've got, you know, having it say whatever you want it to say. So I think that there is still some value in that Mark 20, in teaching Mark 21. And it's really helped with in our department as well in terms of access points and transitioning to linked data as well,
Yeah.
adding URIs to the authority records as well. So that's my only comment. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we are still in a period of transition, and this is, I mean, maybe we'll have a little side group talking, or when we get farther down the line, talking about education and how we kind of advocate for that in various ways around linked data, but also the fact that linked data is still, at least some ways, based on mark data, because that's what we started with.
Yeah.
Okay. Any final comments on that before I pass it off to Anne to show us some Meridian stuff? Okay, Anne, you're up.
So what I think the goal is to start doing some work around like recommendations or for different properties. And I think what we heard was like to actually see, you know, what's in Meridian, that would be really useful in kind of thinking about that kind of stuff. So what I hope happens is I can go through Meridian very, you know, slowly. And if there are comments on a given, you know, date property or thing like that, we can just kind of make our way through it. So that's what I was thinking we would do. Is that sort of along the lines of what people remember / what you think would be helpful for some of the activities we talked about? Okay, fab.
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
I see some positive stuff in the chat. So one thing I want to mention, Robin, is for EMCO, you made a good point around identity management, you know, of a variety of entities in this particular like early adopters thing. We are focused on people. So
Yep.
as we go through this exercise, I'll probably focus on people, and then maybe if there are, as we are looking at this and we think about like, oh, well, that would be different for this or that, maybe we could put those in a bucket of like other stuff, like notes, because we don't want to lose anything, but
Sure.
um,
I think this is such a great starting point, though, because people are the easiest to understand, I think, in terms of having sort of centralized vocabularies and being able to connect data together through linked data.
oh, wait, I can't tell what I'm sharing. Am I just,
I saw your whole
Uh,
screen. Now I
okay.
see.
Yep.
okay, okay. I thought I clicked on that, but I guess not. Okay, so I'm already logged in. So we have like the create and edit. And I was just going to start with the create window because because I will. That's all. So for now, what people would be presented with, you're presented with this. The language is like the language of the different strings that you'll be adding. And so this is the BCP 47 list of languages. And then the label is, the the name. Um, there's a selection of the entity type. These have like subtypes. So when you click agent, then you would select person. There's a toggle for whether this is a fictional entity. Do we have Balto, Clifford? Who do we, Anne of Green Gables? And then the description has been, I think, one of the more ambiguous things that we could probably, we as in on the OCLC side / this group could come up with what we'd want to put in here. But typically it's something like, author, you know, um, president. Uh, and then this would be like Ann Gaynor. That's my other name, or, whatever else. So conversation about this entry here. So what this does, as soon as I create it, I'm not going to create this, but it will create, does somebody have like a person that we want to create? Like,
I do. Sorry.
oh, cool.
I just cataloged a book this morning. Let me find it. And the person was not in NACO, and I didn't create a record because I had to redo the cataloging twice. So let's see. Um,
Then I could create it for real and y'all could see.
yeah. Here. Put it in the chat.
Yeah. I would typically put like a space, but is that not really what you're supposed to do?
He didn't have one on the title or on the cover page, like on the title page or the front cover. So I think yes, you're supposed to, but I was following um what he had exactly.
We can always change it. But here's we're getting in the questions. Are we following RDA?
Yep.
And then this is an author, a scientist, or what kind of book was it?
Author.
Doesn't have to be extensive. But I will say, don't think it lets you create it without, yeah, you have to have a description and you have to have a label, type, and description. Yes, you can add any diacritics or type in any character set. Multiple descriptions. We don't have multiple descriptions. It would probably just be kind of long. But let's get to the next. So let's create this person. Blah, blah, blah.
So like if you had author and
Illustrator, maybe.
right, or
Oh, yeah.
doctor or
Sorry.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I meant descriptors and a description.
Oh, yeah. I think you can just do, author and illustrator, scientist that, won a big award and, you know, grew up in Georgia. Whatever you want to put here.
Um,
Okay, Mara has a question, and I don't know if we'll be able to answer it right now or if we put it in the
are
long-term question bucket.
are we following RDA? Yeah.
I mean, based on these options here, this format doesn't follow very easily what RDA requires, but I imagine that we will want to keep it similar. And I think that's probably going to be one of the recommendations, yes or no from this group. Is that the idea?
But if this system can be used by people in other countries who are not following RDA, do we really want to follow RDA with this? If a French person in Paris used this and they use some kind of version of RDA that's not the same version as us, what do we do if the person's in Africa and they want to use this?
I think that's a great question for maybe this group to eventually provide a recommendation on.
Yeah, because then I could see you could potentially have what would be duplicates for the same person if, they're publishing and different people are searching in here but not finding the name and or maybe do not understand it's the same person because of how the name's formatted. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, at a basic level too, I don't know yet. I don't know if Anne, you've heard anything about what OCLC is thinking about language translation.
Yeah.
Whether they intend this to be an English language entity system, kind of like cataloged in English kind of way.
Yeah.
Or whether
Well, go ahead.
if I had entered, author illustrator description in French, it would automatically translate as needed, kind of thing.
Yeah, so there's not just from like now the product side of things. It's intended to be multilingual. And I think Yi has a good question. Well, except for one that I can't really answer around transliteration. I think that I've been very curious from the community around that. But you can enter it in various scripts. And then the UI is currently available in a number of languages, and then the ontology is available in English and French right now. But
So
I am going to click create, unless we wanted to keep looking at this particular.
no, but I think this example raised some good questions that
Yeah.
this group might
So
brainstorming.
before
Yeah.
you click create, so what does the fictional entity aspect do?
Oh, that makes it it has two types then. The entity
Okay.
has a type of person and fictional entity, but you can have fictional places, organization,
Right.
you
Right.
know. So this just gives it, once it's created, two types.
So then on the public interface, are you able to search for a fictional entity as well as, is that one of those kind of
Mhm.
search option or filtering? Okay, thank you. That was just my question.
And I know like long term doing this, just from working on NACO records, sometimes it's really challenging. Like you get a very generic name like John Smith. And even with all the information in that name authority record, you can't tell which record you should be linking to the person. So I don't know if like adding more information is helpful in a description or what people think about that either.
Well, I know having worked on digital archives, historic archives where we're trying to match people up or, family names repeat and repeat and repeat. The more information that's included about a person and whatever kind of identity management we're using is more helpful. Just because it gives you a little bit more of a sense of not only when the person lived, but also is this the person that's the preacher or is this the person that's the grocer that has the same name? So any additional information can help you place that person and identify them better in the data. Having worked with historical resources.
Yeah. And as Anne continues with this, you'll see there are other
Yep.
fields with that information. And also, one of the recommendations I think this group should eventually want to look at is like, are there identifiers that are required in addition to the SWAN that help? Yeah. Yeah, Nicolette, I agree. The more information you have, the better. But doesn't necessarily have to go in this description field.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So yes, Jill mentioned, so to kind of illustrate the point of other languages, let's create something here because, question was, can their aliases be in a different language from the main label? So let's create this or see if we get something. So it starts out super blank, obviously. But there's the ability to add a bunch of different things. And this, what we call like the key information section, that has the language tag for this label and description. And then you could add it in, Chinese if you had it, and that would create like a separate line. Actually, I should have probably kept let's see. So you can see it's like the string is in Arabic here. And then that's what can be used in another context to say, oh, and give me I don't know that anyone has a interface in Esperanto. But D or something like that. So what in the initial create, it's just sort of the first basic information to establish this. And we have, there have been questions around, is there something we could add? If you're creating from inside of Record Manager for a person, it also brings up a year to add that data point at the point of creation as well, because there were some user feedback that folks wanted another data point. Okay, so that I can reopen this if we want to like talk about this, but I did want to click create so I could at least mention the key information.
So I know he's with the University of Delhi. Is that how you pronounce it? In the microbiology department. I don't know if any of that's helpful for whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we could go down the page. Oh, I don't have the Wikidata stuff open, but yeah, we could. So I know that I just saw on the Wikidata profile. Oh, okay. Yeah. Screen sharing toolbar. Please go away.
Yeah, I hate it. That always shows.
Like, so they had, sorry guys. Oh, they had a recommendation. I wanted to bring this up specifically just because they had a recommendation around date of birth. And so in the dates section, these are the dates available. So it could be a date of birth, date of death. And then we also have, again, kind of from some user feedback, interested in, out of the privacy conversation came this idea of active end and start dates and possibly having it in, um, date ranges to basically say, I'm the Anne from the 21st century and not the Anne from, the 17th century. So that's to give you just a little bit of context and background. But this is the next kind of field, is dates. We have like, let's just say we don't know this birth date. It could be single or range. So you could say, from maybe they started 1980 to 1990 is like the active start date. So that this is like the most complex. A lot of times it's like single date, year, but you could also get down to like a day precision. You can see that's here. Based on the localization of your like machine or if you tell your Chrome that like you're in Germany, this will show up as somewhat differently. I think it's day, month, year, or something.
Yeah.
And I know that if you all have opinions about dates, which I know I do. And then we have like a month specificity. And then we have this reference URL. So that's just to give you some context of what you're seeing on the screen. Continue conversation.
So for the fields that are more standardized type of data, like date, do those follow? I would assume they follow one of the ISO standards related to dates. Is that true? And is that true for some of the other fields? Or have there been any standards assigned to this? I know we had the question about RDA, but sort of at general, has there been any standards assigned to these fields?
Do we know anything about the date of this? Oh, let's use our buddy. Let's use our painter. So on the like the UI user interface side of things, it looks not ISO-ish. It has this format here. But if you let's take this and look at the JSON LD of it.
I was going to say that the back end is all using the ISO, whatever the ISO one is that most computer systems use. Oh,
Yeah.
this one, yeah. I forget which standard it is.
Yeah, so I think it uses the
Thank you,
W3Cs.
the so yeah.
It uses this W3C schema, but that in turn, I want to say uses this ISO format. But I think it allows for some additional, gosh, this is taking me back a few years. This specificity, this unit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can see it here. There's the that it's actually converting it. Yeah, there you go. So there's one that's converted it to the ISO 8601, and then the ones that are basic are just using the XML schema for day, month, year.
Oh yeah.
And then the one with the date timestamp. So yeah, you've got one that's ISO. But I imagine they've got this coded on the back end in the
Yeah.
JSON so that it exports in all of these formats for harvesting, but that when you look at it for the user, you just see the one that's local to your browser.
Yeah, that was the goal. So the goal is to make it straightforward so that a person doesn't have to figure this out in this. I mean, and then if you were to do it through the API, it also is a more simplified version. Truly, like this is what comes out the other end of the machine kind of processing of things.
But it would be, if anybody does in the future use the API, it is helpful to see this view, this JSON view, so you
Yep.
can see, you need to pick from one of these schemas upon entry if you're going through the API.
Right.
Yeah,
And there's a question from Paul
this is
about
probably going
Yeah.
on a tangent. But
duplicates.
I think we all liked it.
resolving this. Okay, so currently, this is a process that would go through the OCLC quality team. I mean, the member merge, that has all gone through like quite a robust cycle of
Right.
use and testing and things like that. Since this is still in like early phases, what you can do is like, well, let's just see if maybe there's a thing here. So let's pretend this was a duplicate. Well, actually, okay. So let's say I'm like, no, this is the duplicate. For some reason, you can actually go to this actions menu. So this is as a Meridian user, you can go to this actions menu and you basically say, I think this is a duplicate, and I think it's a duplicate of this entity. It has like this lookup, and
So
then
if
oh,
there's information differs just a little bit between the 2 or 3 or however many potential duplicates, will those be potentially merged together, or will they be examined to figure out if there's data that's unique to a second entity, but it should be included in the first one, which is why the duplicate was created? Will those be evaluated at the data point beyond just, the connection of the name and dates and things like that?
yes. So this is not yet like an automated process when a user clicks this request to delete entity. I'll show you what happens. And at some point, I've told them not to remove this duplicate, but there was like a one with fewer information points. I think we actually took them away. And this is the banner that will show up. So on that entity that I said, like, I think this is a duplicate, if you put in that you think it's a duplicate of another entity, you can link it here so that if I'm using this in my metadata, like I'm using this identifier, I can get the right one. And then this on the data end of things has a flag. And then that flag, those flagged entities go to the quality team and they create like tickets and things like that. So this is built into the system. And if you don't have the Meridian subscription, you can email bib change with this
Okay.
with something. So, but one way is what I'm kind of hoping is we get this process defined. This will also help us identify patterns in what duplicate data may have been created to do some things like at scale, and then introduce more things like, potentially users merging things but that's not in the most immediate time. And then the process of, let's say merging would probably be that I know has happened with things is any unique identifiers or pieces of information from the duplicate will move to the like surviving entity. And then these are in WorldCat. And so then there are processes that go through to find this ID and replace it with this other ID. So there's, downstream effects that we have to correct.
So if I'm using this in my institutional repository or digital asset management tool and something gets merged, do I get any kind of notification, or is that something I would have to build in on my software side to go out and look for links that have been updated or have that
Hmm.
note there?
We don't have anything like that right now. What other questions have popped? Yeah, I'd like to learn a little bit more around these dates, the EDTF. Um, looks like there's so supposedly EDTF was rolled into 8601, but that's based on which version. And then whether you can say circa
Mhm.
added as a range or a year. So this is one thing that I'd like to hear from. Let's go back to our buddy. Right now, we don't have like a circa.
Mhm.
That type of thing could be expressed in a range. But if this group kind of has recommendations, use cases, things like that, I would be super interested. And
Yeah, I
then,
started putting a list in the notes of we should look at making recommendations on these things. So
oh, Robin, I do want to mention, you mentioned about notification.
Mhm.
Uh, there is an API um, that we have as part of Meridian, the entity changes
Oh,
API.
yeah.
And so this will, um, let's see, this will give like a readout of like, this was added, and there is a specific action. I think the old one gets like deprecated,
Mhm.
I want to say. So there will be like some kind of entry in here for a given ID.
Thank you. That's helpful because at least there would be, I mean, certainly probably a programmer could build something more automated, but you could just compare, what's in your existing IR versus what's against this list and do it. How often is this updated?
It's in real time.
Real time. So yeah, so even an institution could probably do it weekly or monthly, depending on how much they think there might be, and that would at least provide a flag for what needs to be updated in their own systems then. So thank you. That would be helpful for building that next part of the workflow, making sure the maintenance works happens.
I also want to revisit a question around Romanized forms of the name, which has been a question across, I think, authorities and bibliographic metadata of where I think if folks want to enter that, if so, what language does it go with? Or should there be a specific indicator that this is a transliteration of X language? I don't know if there are other opinions or comments around uh, transliteration and personal names.
I think it'd be at least useful because we know that there are names that are transliterated. So I think it'd at least be useful that there was a box that could be checked as, transliterated so that that would be caught in any kind of data coming out of this.
this would be a great thing, Anne, to ask OCLC about, because I imagine when they did their original dump into this database,
Yeah,
they used LCSH. I mean LCNAV, and
right.
the LC names already have that for a bunch of them. It must be in here somewhere already.
The initial data was pulled primarily from VOF, which would have I don't know if that data makes it over to VOF, but like I'm not seeing like a
Well,
transliterated.
you wouldn't get transliteration in a situation like this. You would get it if the person's name like was in, I keep thinking Russian names. Look for Trotsky or something. I don't know. You know,
Yeah, if someone
there's
wants
a
to
lot of
copy
Russian
paste
names.
something, and I could search for it and see what ended up happening.
But it would also be a good question for, or somebody can check, see what it looks like in VF. I imagine they're in there from that LCSH content. But it would have to be a name that was
Oh yeah.
originally in a non-Roman language.
Yeah.
Paul, did you have a thought?
Well, just I was thinking of things like Hebrew, Judaica, and Arabic that are read from right to left as opposed to left to right,
Yeah.
and how that would figure in Meridian as well. I'd love to see something like that entered.
Yes, so did I install that keyboard?
So we've only got 2
Oh
minutes
gosh,
left.
sorry.
So I think we can, Anne, if you don't mind, next month at our next meeting, maybe you can continue this. And in the meantime, people can drop questions or examples to use next time. So maybe if someone's got a transliterated name, shoot it over to Misty and Anne and I, and we'll check it and show it next time, that kind of thing.
Has this been helpful as like a conversation? While
Very.
not always a
Yeah.
question solver, a conversation starter, just does this path seem like a good path to continue down? I mean, okay. Lots of explosive thumbs up. Okay. Very, okay, cool. Yeah, and if we can definitely dive into technical stuff later, and if there are any other like questions, just get in touch with me if they must be answered.
And definitely some examples for next time if you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Misty, once you stop the recording, I can finish this.